A letter written by Einstein in 1922 reveals how he predicted Germany's dark future. Albert Einstein wrote a message to his sister Marga in August 1922, speaking about his fears about his nation and his prediction about Germany, which they all shockingly came true later. The scientist was born on March 14, 1879, in Ulm, yet he moved with his parents, Hermann and Pauline, who were Ashkenazi Jews, to East Munich. However, the family never practiced their faith, therefore Albert attended Catholic school. Then he moved to Munich's Luitpold Gymnasium, where his talent began to appear. It was clear that the little kid was talented in physics and maths. He even started teaching himself advanced mathematics when he was only 12 years old. He was able to dominate hard systems. At 13, he believed that mathematics could be used as a tool for understanding the world, and he devoured the notoriously complex Critique of Pure Reason with enthusiasm after knowing German philosopher Immanuel Kant. By the time he was 14, Albert had become an expert in mathematics. When he turned 17, he entered the Zurich Polytechnic in Switzerland, after disavowing his German citizenship in order to escape the military service. In 1900, the scientist graduated from Zurich, where he spent 4 years studying mathematics and physics. Also, he was able to publish his first paper in the prestigious scientific journal Annalen der Physik. The graduate worked at the patent office in Bern, Switzerland. In 1905, he earned his Ph.D. from Zurich University and published 4 separate papers that enhanced our understanding of physics that made his reputation. In 1908, Einstein started giving lectures at the University of Bern. Thereafter, he was offered a position at the Charles Ferdinand University in Prague, before moving back to Zurich to work as professor of theoretical physics. Einstein went back to Germany so as to begin his job as professor at Berlin's Prussian Academy of Sciences in 1914. And although he was married to a Serbian mathematician for 10 years, he had another relationship with his cousin Elsa. Even more, he moved to Berlin to be closer to her. The professor was thereabout from being director at the new Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Physics. Yet the flare-up of World War I delayed it until October 1917. By 1871, Germany's burgeoning economy and unrivaled army made it one of the world's greatest powers. It had a major role during the World War, with its formidable forces compared to its enemies. Yet the German empires soon began to suffer as the war took hold. And as hostilities dragged out on the Western Front, many normal citizens found themselves without access to food. In 1917, Germany made a crucial mistake when they have announced that they would not be restricting submarine warfare and duetto that America joined the fray. After many tries, Germany failed in conquering the West, so they gave up in the spring of 1918. At November 11th from the same year, the war was proclaimed. Then, as the war ended, the German Revolution had begun. At that time, the Emperor Wilhelm was abdicated and was a sign of the starting of a democratic system. By that period, Europe was in a state of anarchy, and because the borders were redrawn, many problems appeared. Families found themselves separated from each other, and that they were losing their identities and cultures because states were working on establishing their new identities, and they were obliged to adopt a new culture. These new boundaries caused great unrest. This situation, according to historians, affected mostly the Jews. Their situation turned bleak again before the reign of Franz Joseph. They enjoined their rights as any other citizens because they declared that a person's religion should not affect their rights. However, once again, they started losing their social advances, and yet Hitler's policy didn't take hold. This period of history was a very tumultuous, and it is difficult to understand what was really happening. Yet the letter written by Albert Einstein, which was found recently, would help. The letter was written in August 1922, after 2 months from the assassination of Walter Rathenau in June 21st, because he defended the treaty to open up opportunities for trade with the Soviet Union. The letter revealed that Einstein was the smartest one conversant the facts surrounding him. It was believed that Rathenau's Jewish background caused his murdering too. Authorities warned Einstein, the friend of the minister, that he may be in danger as well. The latter escaped from Berlin to West Germany. Uncertainly, he lived in Kiel, a city on Germany's Baltic coast, where he wrote his letter to his sister Maha. Therefore, the physician moved to Asia in speaking tour for 6 months. Einstein wrote, "Out here nobody knows where I am. I am believed to be missing. Here are brewing economically and politically dark times." He spoke about the situation in Germany and the elevation of anti-Semitism and nationalism. He added that he was happy because he was outside these incidents after his escaping. However, he didn't consider it as a solution. The expert Rosenkranz told the Associated Press in November 2018 Einstein's initial reaction was one of panic and a desire to leave Germany for good. Within a week, he had changed his mind. Rosenkranz continued, "The letter reveals a mindset rather than typical of Einstein, in which he claims to be impervious to external pressures. One reason may have been to assuage his sister's concerns. Another is that he didn't like to admit that he was stressed about external factors." Einstein insisted on confirming to Maja that he was safe. He wrote, "I'm doing pretty well, despite all the anti-Semites among the German colleagues. I'm very reclusive here, without noise and without unpleasant feelings, and am learning my money mainly independent of the state, so that I'm really a free man. You see, I'm about to become some kind of itinerant preacher." Then he spoke about his forthcoming speaking tour. That is, firstly pleasant, and secondary, necessary. Once again, he spoke about the bad status at the end of the letter. "Don't worry about me. I myself don't worry either. Even if it's not quite kosher, people are very upset." Einstein added that the situation in Italy was as bad as Germany due to the new National Fascist Party's leadership, Benito Mussolini, who was going to be the new president, and he was anti-Semitic as well. Albert noted, in Italy, it seems to be at least as bad. The letter represented Albert's feeling during the critical period. According to Rosenkranz, the letter was not Einstein's first warning with regards to anti-Semitism in Germany. Moran Aaron from Jerusalem's Kadem auction house, where the letter was eventually sold, illustrated, "This letter reveals to us the thoughts that were running through Einstein's mind and heart at a very preliminary stage of Nazi terror. After a year, the real horror began when Hitler reached power." On November 8, 1923, when State Commissioner Gustav von Kahr was giving a speech, Hitler broke into the beer hall, announced that a new government is going to be formed after he had deposed the country's current leaders. However, his plan had failed, and he was jailed for 8 months. Yet he became a chancellor on January 1933, and that gave him almost unlimited power only after 2 months. In 1933, Einstein felt that something wrong was going to be happening, exactly as he had felt in 1922, and once again his thoughts were right and problems began. As the physicist went back from a trip to the U.S., he knew that his summer home had been taken by Nazis. Albert surrendered his German citizenship as soon as he arrived to Belgium, and then he got away to the United States. It is believed that in the period between 1933 and 1939, more than 300,000 Jews fled Germany. As Einstein had predicted, the situation in Germany turned out to be bleak, and even more than it was predicted. After the outbreak of the Second World War in September 1939, harsh restrictions were imposed on Jews. People who didn't flee Germany were dislodged to concentration camps in 1942 by the Nazis, where they were agonized and forced into hard labor. Even worse, they were gassed to death. By the end of the Second World War, 6 million Jews perished. That was not enough for Nazis. In addition to murdering them, they worked on eradicating any influence that they might have had. Einstein's work, principally his theory of relativity, dubbed Jewish physics, was refused as well during that period. The physicist didn't go back to his homeland even after the end of the war, and he died in New Jersey in 1955. Moran Aaron added the relationship between Albert and Maja was very special and close, which adds another dimension to Einstein, the man, and greater authenticity to his writings. Einstein's letter was called as darkly prophetic letter or the God letter, and it gained both the collecting world and public's interest. The letter was sold on November 12, 2018, in the auction for around $40,000, yet this was broke up when another of his writings sold for a staggering $2.9 million. The Jewish people, to whom I gladly belong, and in whose mentality I feel profoundly anchored, still for me does not have any different kind of dignity from all the other people, Einstein noted. Although he never practiced his religion, he was proud of being one of the Jews, and he considered them as any other people, and there is no difference between them.